Hey guys, Greg here and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm continuing my playthrough of Fallout Wasteland Wanderer. Last episode I created my character and the vault they were from. I am playing Oliver, who was the vault mechanic. His tag skills are energy weapons and repair, and his weapon is a shiny laser pistol. The vault he was from, Vault 41, was experimented on by chems, and for some reason, Oliver is the last survivor of the vault. The quest I rolled up was Cult Slayer. Stop a deranged cult from awakening something buried in the earth. I've had a bit of time to think about this. I think this is a faction that was known to the vault. I think they were actually helping the vault when they turned around and kidnapped everyone for whatever this thing is in the ground. Oliver wasn't taken. He was hiding in one of the service conduits or something like that. So now his goal is to go to Radtown, where everyone's been taken, and see who's left and if he can free them. I just fixed up the map from last time. I didn't do it properly, and I do want to play things rules as written. When you generate your map, you mark 4 sections as impassable, and then you roll a dice until you get a number. So then you write the numbers 1 to 20. You roll a dice until you get a number that's on the outside for the blocker for your campaign quest, your main quest. I've rolled 20, so Oliver's going to have to go from the vault south through this section until he gets to area 20. This game is organized by rounds, so the first step is to travel to the next area. You must travel orthogonally, you cannot travel diagonally, so it's got to be next to the square that you're on. Then you do an encounter, which will depend if you're in the wasteland or in the settlement. Then you can take any number of actions, again determined by if you're in the wasteland or if you're in the settlement, and then you journal the highlights of that round. So let's look at the travel action. So Oliver's going to be traveling from his vault to area 14. He's already spent 1 supply. If you can't spend 1 supply, you take 2 damage. For the new area, you then determine inhabitants, and that determines if it's a wasteland or if it's a settlement. Then you generate icons and truths. So an icon is some landmark. It might be a super duper mart or something like that. And then there's a truth for that area. For example, it might be a cautious settlement. It might be an authoritarian settlement. This gives you more context for what's there. And if there's a settlement, you have to roll for your starting reputation with that settlement. So I'll go through my first round, what I've done so far. As I showed before, I'm traveling south from the vault into area 14. I spent a supply. Rolling on the inhabitants generator, I rolled a 1, which gave me Wasteland. I'm in a Wasteland area. On the location icon generator, I rolled a 13, which gave me a heritage site. So wherever I am, this is something of historical significance. Now, the truth for this area, I rolled a 13 and got echoing. Every sound carries too far, making whispers feel like shouts. So that's what I've discovered about that location. Then I went on to my encounter. I'm in the wasteland, so I do a wasteland encounter. Rolled a 7, which was minefield. Beep, an old minefield lies along the main road of an old town. The stores are littered with untouched goods. If only you could bypass the minefield. And this is where we come to actions. So the main way the game works is through actions, which are basically skill checks that have obstacles and consequences considered as part of that action. There are safe actions and dangerous actions. Safe actions are things like approach, which means approaching a danger which could cause the situation to become dangerous. You can clear a main quest blocker, you can complete a side quest, you can explore, find supplies, level up, meet, patch up, rest. There was a few more. Mod, scavenge, and trade. And there are a couple of extra actions in the book that weren't actually listed in the first list, like endure, which I'm sure I'll come to that later on. Dangerous actions include de-escalating, opposing, outwitting, or retreating. In this case, there wasn't really any action to deal with mines. So I chose to make my own action, which is allowed. When you create an action, there's a number of built-in things that you go through. So the goal, name, and suggested difficulty is to basically deal with the mines. I've given it a difficulty of 1. This is like a starting encounter. Solutions. I brainstormed some solutions. I could disarm the mines. I could find a safe path. I could shoot my laser pistol from a distance. Each solution will use a different skill. So to disarm the mines, I would use intelligence plus explosives. And in Oliver's case, that would equal 10. In this game, you roll 2 d20-sided dice, and you need to roll equal to or under your target number. So 10 would be my target number. Find a safe path would be perception, Oliver's perception plus survival, which would equal 8. So already you can see that the disarming, I've got a higher chance of succeeding. My final idea was shoot from a distance using perception plus energy weapons. Now, the book didn't talk about what I should use in conjunction with energy weapons. I've picked perception because I'm aiming where I fire. You could use agility, but in this case, I think perception is a relevant skill. So for Oliver, that would be 12. So I'd have to roll 12 or under to succeed. Now, suggested modifiers are things, other obstacles that could make things harder, or other factors that could make it easier. So, for example, there might have been smoke, which would have made it harder. Starting with the difficulty 1, so the difficulty would have gone up to 2. But in this case, I think this is just empty wasteland. Our truth was echoing, nothing about smoke or storms or anything like that. So we have no suggested modifiers in this case. Success. Now, if I disarm a mine, I will gain that mine to use later on. And I'll be able to move forward. If I fail, I'm going to take damage if in range, so if I'm trying to disarm it. Now, the book didn't outright say that mines do 2 damage, but there was a table with combat states. So when you get into combat, you roll in the combat states table, and one of them was explosives, and if you're in an explosive area, either you or the enemy might take 2 damage. So I'm going to use that as the baseline for a frag mine. Now, additional successes, actually I'm going to change this, that I can, how additional successes works is you get action points that you can use. And in this case, an additional success would be I would disarm or destroy an additional mine. So normally with this, it's 1 skill check, but in this case, because I'm trying to get through a minefield, I'm going to do 3 checks. Now, potential complications. If you roll a 20, it doesn't matter if you succeed you still get a complication on a 20. So I've decided if I roll a 20, there'll be a chain reaction explosion. Take a lot of damage if within range. I'm actually going to change it to 6 damage, as if you've taken damage from 3 different mines. So I've decided I'm going to try and disarm the first mine. My target number is 10. I need to roll 2d20s and roll 10 or less. So I've gotten a 3 and I've gotten a 1. This is good because a 1 is a critical success. So I've actually gotten 3 successes. And I only needed 1. So I can bank the extra 2 successes as action points. But in this case, with additional successes, I could disarm an additional mine. So just to make this interesting, I'm going to bank the 2 action points, and I'm going to still do 2 more skill checks. So I've disarmed my first mine, I've gained a frag mine for my inventory, and I move forward to the next mine, trying to disarm. Okay, 2 13s is not good. I have not succeeded on either dice. I have a couple of options here. I can use luck. My character's got, I think it was 2 luck. We'll check in a second. There's 3 things you can do with luck. Cheat the oracle, but we're not consulting the oracle. We can play the odds. So you can increase or decrease the result of your roll by up to your luck. Let me have a look what my luck actually is. So my luck is 6. So I actually have 3 luck points to spend. And I could adjust my luck, my roll by 6. So 13 take away 6, and I would have 7, which would be a success. The other thing I could do, I could spend one of the two action points I rolled before. You can use action points to re-roll a skill dice or provide an additional success. So I'm going to spend I'm going to spend an action point to re-roll one of my failed dice. Okay. Whew. I have gained my 1 success that I needed. I have disarmed the second mine, and I have got 2 frag mines in my inventory. Let's try and disarm the last mine. So I've got 1 action point left, still 3 luck points, I should say. Once again, I failed. I needed 10 or under to disarm. Let's spend my last action point to re-roll 1 dice. Didn't roll in the tray. 15. I have failed. I could use my luck, but I think I'm just going to take 2 damage. So I've taken 2 damage. My health is down to 8. I did gain 2 frag mines though. And now I've gone through the frag mines into this old town, ripe for scavenging, as they said. So I am keen to do my actions. And the first one I'm going to do is scavenge. Scavenging is a safe action. To take this action, you must be in a wasteland location or be looting a settlement that is hostile to you. You can only scavenge once each time you travel. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, can only do it once. So goal, scavenge, difficulty of 1. So I can search the location using perception and survival. I don't know anything about a safe or hacker terminal. So perception and survival. Oliver's perception is 7 and his survival is 1. So my target number is 8 or less. Let's roll 2d20s. I've gotten a 9 and a 16. Actually, I see here failure. You find loot, page 170, protected by a foe. Generate a combat state to determine if you are in danger. So let's roll on our loot table, which is here. Rolling a d20, I get a 9, which is armor with 1 condition. Okay, rolling for the condition of the armor. Rolling a d20, I got a 13, battered, well-worn, scuffed. Rolling on the armor table, got a 6, which is a fedora, summer hat, or sunglasses. Well, I guess clothing and armor got mixed together. Okay, to generate my foe, I'm rolling a d20 on the foe table. I get an 11, which is a robot. And rolling on the robot table, I get 10. A Protectron, Fire Brigadier trudges through the ruins, spraying foam at the smouldering remains of a decades-old fire. Okay, now I've generated my foe and the loot. I need to roll on the combat state table to see if I'm in danger. If I'm in danger, I'll have to fight the Protectron. If I'm not, I'll have to decide if I want to try and get the loot. So rolling on the combat states, I get a 12, danger zone. A chasm, irradiated pit, or other dangerous area dominates the combat. If any creature enters the danger zone, they are defeated. If you enter the danger zone, you immediately gain an injury. Page 217. Well, I was leaning towards fighting this thing, but there's no way I'm going forward to take an injury. I just have to give up this loot. If you hear any animal sounds in this video, it is these two still getting to know each other and get along. So I double checked, and the danger zone is a dangerous area that dominates the combat. So it's not the whole area, but it is a large section of the battlefield. So I've run into a firefighter Protectron. From the looks of things, he is actually fighting a fire. Apologies, all my regular Protectrons are broken. My dog bumped the box and broke all the 3D printed ones. So I've just got this Chef Protectron who will proxy in as a Fire Brigadier. I guess my choice is I can walk away, approach, see if I can deal with this Protectron and get this armor, which is a fedora hat. Just for the purposes of the video, let's do it. Let's approach and let's try to deal with this Protectron. So I'm going to use the approach action. To take this action, you must be safe, and there must be a foe in your location. There is. Approach difficulty 1. So some of the solutions are sneak up on the threat, greet the threat, or distract a creature. So I'm just happy to walk up and greet the Protectron. So that will be charisma speech, which is definitely not this guy's strength. Let's just have a look at that. Charisma is 4, and I believe my speech is 0. This is Oliver fumbling around in the wasteland. He's gonna approach the Protectron, the Fire Brigadier that's fighting the fire. And he's gonna say, "Greetings, Protectron, what are you doing there?" This is why his charisma is only 4. Rolling 2d20. I got a 6, but it wasn't enough, so I have failed. So what happens? Your situation becomes dangerous, your foes become hostile, combat begins. Now, with combat, it's the player's turn, then it's the enemy's turn, then it's the player's turn, then it's the enemy's turn. But I believe I get another turn because we've just entered combat. So I believe it's my turn. Now I'm going to try and outwit this Protectron. I'm going to try and convince him to walk into the fire with my Outwit action. So it's a difficulty of 2. And it's going to have to be a charisma speech. Now, this is one of the rare times I might want to use luck. One of the luck abilities is try your luck, use your luck attribute instead. My luck is 6, whereas my charisma plus speech is only 4. But, so with that, a roll under is a critical success. A roll over is an automatic complication. Let's do this. I'm going to spend 1 point of luck to use my luck attribute instead. So I'm rolling on 6 or less. I say to the Protectron, hey, watch out, there's an employee in that fire that needs help. Let's roll and see how we go. I've gotten a 1 and I've gotten a 12. So the 1 is a critical success, but there will be a complication. So I have hit the difficulty of 2. So I guess the Protectron will say, must help employee escape fire, and he will turn and walk into the fire. If any creature enters the danger zone, they are defeated. So this Protectron will get defeated. I can't think of a complication at the minute. If you can think of a complication, write it in the comments below. And I guess I will, or Oliver will, grab the fedora off the corpse. I just thought of a complication. As the Protectron turns, it sprays me with the cryofoam and I take 1 damage. This is future Greg. I was reflecting on how I handled this. I think the Protectron should have had a go before. So I did the approach action, which got me into combat. And then, because it was the start of combat, I decided to go first because normally it's player, then foe, player, then foe. I don't know. It feels better to me if the Protectron had a go between the approach and the. I use the Outwit action to defeat it. And this will give me a chance to show you a enemy stat block anyway. So we have our creature or enemy. We have our threat, and threat is kind of the HP. Once you get it down to 0, that's when it is defeated. This is a complicated stat block because it's actually got a few different types of Protectrons. We encountered the Fire Brigadier. And so on its turn, we roll a d20, and then whatever we roll, it'll do either an aggressive action, a cautious action, or a crafty action. I'll just go through these couple of abilities here. Here to help, when a Protectron appears, randomly determine its job. In our case, it had a predetermined job, which was a Fire Brigadier. All de-escalate actions against a Protectron are resolved at a -1 difficulty if you can involve its job in the test. So if I had, for example, tried to help it put out the fire, I could have done a de-escalation job, de-escalation action at -1 difficulty. And of course, Protectrons are immune to radiation, poison, disease, starvation, suffocation, thirst, and fear. So I'm going to roll a d20 and see what this Protectron would have done. 5. So it actually would have been aggressive. The Protectron sprays you with cryofoam, so I will just take another damage, and that will take me down to 6. Before I finish up, I want to do a couple more actions this round. So I want to search for supplies because I'm down to 1 supply. If you have a look, it's a difficulty of 1. To search for supplies in the Wasteland, it is endurance and survival. Oliver's got endurance of 5 and a survival of 1, so my target number is 6. I have to roll 6 or less. I didn't think any of these modifiers were relevant, so I'm not going to adjust the difficulty. It's going to stay as a difficulty of 1. So let's roll 2d20, see if we can get 6 or less. So we've gotten a 6 and a 5, so we've gotten 2 successes. Now I might... So you obtain a quantity of supplies. But because I got a second success, I might actually do this and generate 1 additional supply. So here I'm rolling for the quantity of supplies I've gained. I just rolled an 8, which is 3. So I'm gaining 4 supplies, the 3 that I rolled before, plus that extra success that I'm going to cash in to gain an extra supply. Here's the supply chart, also d20, so I guess I roll the d20 4 times, and I'll write down what I get. 14 is a noodle cup, 10 is a ribeye steak, 1 is a Nuka-Cola Quantum, and last one got an 11, which is a Nuka-Cola. I am pretty happy with that. My supplies are back up to 5. Last thing I want to do is to try and take the patch up action to heal. So patch up is a difficulty of 2. To perform this action, you must have less HP than your maximum value or be suffering from an injury. So I'm down to 6 HP out of 10. So solutions: patch yourself up, intelligence plus medicine. So my intelligence is 8, my medicine is 0, so my target number will be 8. Pay a doctor. Well, I'm not in a settlement, so I can't do that one. Suggested modifiers: makes it harder if you have multiple injuries, so not relevant. Easier if you spend a suitable resource. Now, I don't have any stimpaks or bandages, and it doesn't say anything about using supply, such as like the food we just gained before. So I'm just going to roll and see how I go. If I'm successful, you can remove an injury or heal 4 HP, which is what I would be doing. If I fail, I actually get worse, lose 1 HP. If I get additional successes, I can heal 1 additional HP or heal an additional injury. If I roll a 20, complication, lose a HP, lose a medical item or chem from your inventory. You're met by foes after your skill test generator foe encounter. Okay, let's try and not roll a complication. So I'm needing 2 successes, so this is going to be hard, on a target number of 8 or less. Okay, I haven't done it. Got a 10 or a 15. The question is, do I want to spend a luck to lower the 10? Or do I want to take the failure and lose an extra HP? I think I'm going to have to spend the luck, lower this dice by 6 to 4 to make it a success, to heal up 4. So I'm back up to 10. But I'm now down to 1 luck left. So that was the first round of Oliver exploring the Wasteland. We headed south. We encountered, it was meant to be a heritage site, ended up being a minefield, which we got through. We scavenged an old town, came across a fire and a fire brigadier protectron, outwitted the protectron, gained a fedora for our trouble. But I did have a good searching for supplies action, where I've topped my supplies back up to 5. So I am in a good position, 10 HP, but my luck has gone down to 1, supplies are 5. So that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one.